I'm here today talking to Kara from DonorBox, one of my favorite organizations that we partner with, because they not only provide a really needed, valuable service, but they are thought leaders in the nonprofit sector. And Kara and I are going to talk today all about donors, and we're going to get into some really fun stuff. But before we do, Kara, give us your background. Tell us what you do with DonorBox and maybe your favorite part of working in the sector.
Absolutely, sure. So I've been working in nonprofit fundraising and development, gosh, for over half my life, like 25 years now. And I think most of us in the fundraising profession, me included, the profession kind of found me, not the other way around. And I don't know many of us in the sector who said, I want to raise money for a nonprofit when I grow up. Right. So my formal education is in communications and then a master's degree in education with a focus on adult learning. But throughout that time, I worked in my college development office and I just stayed in the field. So my professional experience is in fundraising and project management, which led me to the world of consulting. And then I eventually earned both my project management professional and certified fundraising executive credentials. And now I'm fundraising coach for the fundraising software platform DonorBox, where I get to do really all of those things while helping nonprofits with their fundraising. And the one thing I really love is that DonorBox really strives to connect with nonprofits on a deeper level beyond just the software to help them raise money. And I guess that's really where I come in.
Like I said, I love the content that you guys put out. One, because it's usually backed with research. You guys do your homework. It's not just someone's opinion. It's actually quality educational content. But you always have the best of lists, like the best podcasts, the best books, and I love those.
Thank
Huge
you.
fan, huge fan. And I love what you said that fundraising found you because I think the best fundraisers are the ones that didn't come into it with the intent to raise money. They came into it because they love talking to people or they love being part of a cause. So that's a beautiful thing as
Yeah,
well.
absolutely. I see that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. In communications, I mean, that's like pretty core to what you're doing today.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the core of what we're going to talk about today, too, which is really cool.
Yeah, so donor trust,
Mhm.
such a hot topic. I think it's something that we love to push aside. We're intrigued by it when we hear about something going wrong or,
Mhm.
there being some issue. But I mean, it's a real consideration for anybody working in fundraising. Why is it so important? And what do you think the disconnect is when we lose donor trust?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And I think for pretty much everyone, trust is complex. It's a complex topic because it's hard to define. And sometimes it's more of a feeling than something you can measure.
Yeah.
But in the fundraising world, you have to build an element of trust to earn that first donation from a new supporter. And then as the amount of a donation request increases, so does the level of that donor trust needed for them to trust you with their hard earned money again. And donors are really looking for nonprofits that are authentic and transparent. I really don't think they have to be perfect and they don't have to be perfect all the time, but that authenticity, transparency that they push forward, and then the intentionality of building relationships. And you asked why it's important. Well, without trust, donors won't stick around. If
Yeah.
they don't stick around, you can't raise money for your cause, and that is a threat to your organization's sustainability. And I think there are three big concerns that I've seen that donors really wrestle with. And I think they're across all organizations in all sectors. So there's three big things on donors' mind. Donors can hesitate to give because they're unclear of where their money's going, or maybe they're unsure of the impact their giving will have. Donors don't feel like they matter, or maybe they don't feel like their contribution mattered, which is it's kind of scary there. And then they're concerned, and I think this is a big one, that you'll only reach out to them when you need money, that they want to be respected and they want to be a partner and not, we hear this phrase all the time, not an ATM machine.
So I just did a podcast interview a couple days ago, and we were talking about donor relationships. It was with Adriana O'Donnell from the Fundraising Academy, and we talked exactly about that. Like, how do we help create donor relationships where
Mhm.
that ATM mentality isn't
Mhm.
there?
Yeah.
Um, I those all make sense. And I think fundraisers, we all work to build that
Mhm.
relationship. We want it to be a partnership, but that takes time. So how do we? And I'm going to ask the cheap question, but it's a thing everybody wonders. How do we expedite this process? How
Mhm.
do we go from, having this fresh, new, one-time donation to getting to the point of relationship and
Mhm.
trust?
Absolutely. And I think in my experience, when donors stop giving, it's usually because the organization hasn't built that meaningful relationship with them. And so I think organizations can quickly grow that relationship, quickly build trust it all boils down to communications. And so I'll flip those concerns we just talked about and maybe give some examples of how communicating well can build trust instead of break it down. So for the donors who are unsure of where their money's going or the impact they'll have, donors are looking for a healthy partnership, and they want to partner with you in the change you're making in this world. Honestly, they want to give to whatever it is you are doing, your mission, not necessarily to you. So deliver programs that are impactful, that are meaningful, and that are measurable. And then use that data to illustrate the impact and reach of your organization through your communications. And then we said that donors don't feel like they matter, or maybe they don't feel like their contribution mattered. Acknowledging donors of every gift level or amount promptly should be part of your organization culture. That's another communication tool. You can use language that shows the impact your supporters can have on the bigger mission, and focus on the outcome. Again, back to the why. What good will happen in this world when they give? And if you have time to give it, I think it's always a good practice to sit down with your staff or maybe key volunteers if you're a small shop and realign and clearly spell out why what you do matters. And then refer to it consistently and communicate it clearly to your supporters. I worked for an organization, we had it on our mouse pads. Everybody got a mouse pad, and it was on there so we could see it every day. Or tack it onto the top of a staff meeting agenda or a weekly email or something like that. But all of those things really revolve around engagement. So thanking your supporters, involving them in what's going on, and then showing them how it's making a difference. And I'll also add there, so back to, do I matter? Does my contribution matter? Stay true to your word. When you say you're going to do something, if you say you're going to follow up a conversation that you have with someone in person or at an event, say, I'll send you that email, do it. And if you say you're going to communicate regularly, they'll receive some sort of monthly email or newsletter, do it. Um, and then that third thing I mentioned, the ATM, back to the ATM story again. Um, Donors are afraid you're only going to reach out to them when you need money. And I hate that. Donors certainly want to be involved. They don't want to be ignored or treated like that ATM. But I know I've been guilty of it. And it's really easy to drop the ball. We've all got a lot of things to do. And I think some simple language changes can be done there too. So I've written appeals, I've written campaigns that start with become a supporter or give now, and they're fine. But I think that language can be really limiting to our donor. Our donors are amazing, amazing humans. And I wonder what it would look like if we asked them, if we asked the people who are involved in our organization, those who are maybe stepping up to give or stepping in to serve, if we ask them to solve a problem with us. So you can educate and inspire them to join you in this big mission of yours. So you could say, give now to feed the hungry, or you can say, let's eliminate hunger together. And so that's just a little example of using some communication and using just some word smithing, some language to really help people solve injustices and want to fix problems. And I will say that for many of us, and me included, the easiest way to do this is through giving. We can't all be on the front lines, but when money moves from my bank account to partner with an organization I support, and then it gets multiplied with other donor support, my money becomes exponentially more powerful. And so I think, Katie, like you said, gaining trust doesn't happen overnight, but it can and will happen over time, like you said, if we're committed to it. And then as an organization, you really need to consider supporter trust as an asset that you can invest in and build in, and really make it the forefront of your internal communications as well.
So much wisdom.
Mhm. Oh, thanks.
Absolutely. Well, we're so short-sighted sometimes,
Mhm.
and I get that because we're all under extreme pressure, but we
Mhm.
make the gift the goal when really it should be the relationship because over time it's so much more valuable.
Absolutely. And I'll add into, I'm a mom, I have teens and a preteen, and we've talked a lot about friendships lately and the intentionality that it takes. And friendships don't magically happen. And I think of, my closest friends are the people I trust the most. They're the people who pursue me, who check in with me, who give me a lot of grace when I need it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of trust there. And I really think our organizations are no different. Spending time and investing in your donor relationship really looks a lot like building a friendship.
Amen. So, if you are watching us on the live stream, thank you. This episode will be coming out in a couple weeks, and you can catch it on all the major podcast networks.